First up this morning, reporting in a commentary today that I think it's likely, and I want to be careful about this, but I'm going to use the word likely, that U.S. Attorney Booth Goodwin will enter soon enter, and he would have to because the registration period starts in January, only lasts for a couple of weeks, that Booth Goodwin will soon enter the race for the Democratic nomination for governor in the coming weeks. I talked to Chuck Smith, and he's going to be with me tomorrow. Chuck Smith is a Charleston CPA, former chairman of the Democratic Party in West Virginia, and he's among those that is pushing Goodwin to get in the race. When I talked with Smith this week, he said, quote, I, along with a number of other people, am encouraging him. And Smith said, quote, I feel very confident he is going to run. That's what Chuck Smith told me this week, reported as such in the commentary today. Let's get some reactions. Now, he hasn't said yet, and it's not a slam dunk, but as we watch the political tides go in and out here in West Virginia, it is increasingly likely that Goodwin will enter the race. Already, of course, two people in there, Jim Justice, and also in the race is Jeff Kessler. Now, let's get some reaction to this. George Carenbauer is the former State Democratic Party chairman, joins us on Talk Line. Mike Stuart, former Republican Party chairman. Good morning to you both, Mike and George. Thank you for coming on.
Hey, Merry Christmas to all your listeners.
Merry Christmas. George,
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. How does, if in fact Goodwin enters the race, how does this change the dynamic of the West Virginia Democratic primary, in your opinion?
Well, I actually don't have an answer to that because I've thought about the different ways in which it could affect it. But I think it does show is that the Democratic Party certainly is alive and well when you have in the race, probably the state's most successful business person, a very energetic and successful U.S. attorney, and a visionary former Senate president. So, it shows the party's in good shape.
Do you think that Goodwin will, I'm saying likely, are you surprised by that, and what kind of candidate do you think he would be?
Well, I think he'd be a very good candidate, and I'm not totally surprised, except that the timing is difficult, I think. It's only 5 months or so until the primary election. So I think that would be his biggest challenge, is probably just the timing. But in terms of his qualification to be governor, I think there's no doubt that he's well qualified to be governor, as are the others. So I think the Democratic Party is well served by the candidates that is likely to offer for governor.
Mike Stuart, former Republican Party chairman, what's your reaction to, or what will be the impact on this election if, in fact, Goodwin gets in?
Well, first and foremost, I'd like to say the position of U.S. Attorney is very important for West Virginia and for the enforcement of justice across the state. So if he's actively posturing to run for governor and he's actively having these discussions, there needs to be a quick resignation from that position. And that's real important because justice cannot be driven by politics, and you can't divorce those two issues entirely. And so what I'll say about Booth is I think, he's a smart, good family guy, good father, appears to be. His wife's a tremendous asset.
His wife, Amy Schuler, Goodwin, who was press secretary to Wise and also to Tomlin, and also is now the current secretary of tourism, travel and tourism in West Virginia. FYI.
Yeah, so he's very capable. He's got a whole stable of good ones there. In fact, let's just be honest about this: that no single family is probably more entrenched in the Democrat machinery in West Virginia than the Goodwins, and no single family, arguably, in the history of West Virginia, has played a more significant role in where we are as a state today. And when I say that, you can look back at a Pittsburgh Post-Gazette article from several years back that referred to West Virginia as the state of Goodwin. And so this is, I think it's fascinating. It's going to be interesting to watch. I thought the senior senator had somewhat appointed or anointed.
You're talking about Manchin?
Yeah, Manchin had sort of nominated Jim Justice as the nominee. So it begs a whole bunch of questions, like who's running the Democrat Party? Is there an internal struggle?
Well, Carenbauer says it's just a healthy Democratic Party and it's not monolithic. And if qualified people want to get in, they get in. That's what Carenbauer just said, as I speak for him.
Well, I think the whole thing is going to be intriguing. And the other thing is, let's face it, he was appointed by President Obama. And I think the last thing we need in West Virginia, one thing you're going to talk about at the top of the hour to plug your next hour, is we're losing more people every day in West Virginia than any other state in the country. Not per capita, but by real numbers. We're losing more people than California, than New York, than Florida, than Texas. So where we are as a state, this was built over decades of Democrat control, liberal Democrat control.
So, George Carenbauer, is that Obama yoke still there because Goodwin served as assistant U.S. attorney for something like 9 years, then was appointed to the U.S. attorney's position by the Obama administration? So, is that still a yoke there he would have to deal with?
Well, they pull it out for a dog catcher, and at some point this has to just wear a little bit thin. The question is not who appointed him; it's what kind of job he did, and he's done a splendid job. So, I think this is, the same old song here that we've heard over and over and over again. But the fact is that Booth has done a great job, and he has not shied away from prosecuting people in his own party as well as in the other party. So he has done a job that I think is above politics. And I look at the other candidates, those who've already filed for governor, and particularly Senator Kessler, whom I know very well and for whom I have a great deal of respect. And I think he is a visionary and a very courageous person. So I think we've got in our party a look to the future, a rather fearless, non-political approach to everything.
Wait, George, come on, non-political. Wait, George, hang on. Let me call you there. You were on a roll. I was tuned in there. When you say come on, you're running for governor. Of course it's politics. I'm not saying it in a derogatory way, but of course it's politics. Come on now, stop right there. Tell me this, George. Tell me this: is that where is the if in fact Goodwin gets in, and according to the latest Metro News poll in September, we had Justice at 40%, Kessler 34%, 26% not sure. Obviously, very very early. That was before that Justice run those what I thought was pretty effective TV ads. Where is the avenue for Goodwin if he gets in? Where does he? I mean, how does he do it in 4.5 months?
Well, he's got to make his case for himself, which is, and I think probably his biggest challenge is probably raising money because it's fairly late in the game to be doing that. And there's only 5 months. It's not, and to establish, he's had some publicity in his capacity as U.S. attorney, so he's not starting from zero, but he has to move forward and make a case for himself.
Did Mike Stuart, did the Blankenship trial, probably the biggest, if not one of the biggest stories of the year, which just recently wrapped up, got one conviction on a misdemeanor, there were 2 acquittals. Does that help him politically, or are there going to be people such as yourself who think it could be used against him?
Well, let me say this. I mean, let's just be honest about it. We spent millions, and if we're talking, and I like efficient government. Let's just say that, efficient government. And what we did there was we spent millions and millions and millions, and I can keep saying the word millions, of dollars to convict a business executive for a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor. And I got to be honest, I was upset. In fact, I was concerned about all those families that had to relive that horror, that terrible tragedy, so that we could convict a guy of a misdemeanor and spend millions of dollars in the process. So I think he's done. I'm glad with his efforts at dealing with drugs, because I think drugs are.
So would you use that against him? So would you use that against him?
I'm not going to use it against him. I think the people of West Virginia have to judge whether that was an efficient use of their tax dollars. But I think he's done some good things in terms of prosecution of folks in southern West Virginia for corruption. Political corruption, we're against it in our party. I'm sure he's against it. Everybody's against it, and he's taken some action there. And he's also been active in the fight against drugs. Yeah,
I mean, there's no question about that. George, which way does the Blankenship verdicts and trial cut for him?
Well, I think if you ask the people who were the victims, if you ask the victims' families, I think they certainly come down on the side of a successful outcome. And I think that's what people will do, really, when push comes to shove. I think that's the bottom line is going to be there was a conviction, and so I think that's likely to be how people ultimately feel about it. And we've got a campaign ahead. First of all, we're still speaking in, I think, something of a speculative mode here. There's been no announcement.
No.
And the other thing I'll throw out where does he stand on taxes, on gun rights, on social issues? Does he support President Obama? Does he support Hillary Clinton? And so I think, so my point is I think he has the capability of becoming a really good candidate, but we're so late in the process that he's going to have to educate West Virginians as to where he stands on these very important issues that a governor, perhaps not a U.S. attorney, but a governor has to lead the charge on.
Yeah, and I don't think that where you stand on Obama has anything to do at all with somebody who's going to be serving as governor in the future.
George, we have folks leaving the state. We have folks losing their jobs every day as a result of this president.
The question is what policies you're going to pursue down the road. Obama will not be the president. So to just keep pulling Obama out of he's not going to be the president when our next governor takes office.
We're going to feel the effects of Obama for the next few decades.
Yeah. That's fine, but it has nothing to do with the serving. And I would look at it and say, what is going to happen in the policies that the two parties are going to offer in the way of governor? Are they going to continue, for example? To me, this is the biggest thing of all. Are they going to continue to have Medicaid cover 150,000 people that are now covered under the Affordable Care Act in West Virginia? Or are they going to terminate those people from their health care insurance?
Well, they're not going to terminate them.
Tell you that.
I mean, I just don't. I mean, that would be. I don't think anybody politically would do that. I think that bell's been rung. But
well, if you repeal Obamacare, you terminate it.
George Carenbauer is with us, former Democratic Party Chairman Mike Stuart, former Republican Party Chairman, and we're talking about the likelihood. Check this out. I'm not. This may come back to bite me, but I'm using the word that it is likely that Booth Goodwin will enter the governor's race in West Virginia, running for the Democratic nomination for governor. Let me go back to the original point on this. George, are you a little surprised if he does get in? Does that surprise you?
I'm not totally surprised because there's still time. I do think it's you could cut it both ways. Waiting until fairly late in the game may be an advantage or could be a disadvantage. I think it cuts both ways because, fortunately, we don't have a super expensive race in the Democratic primary for governor. It's not something that's typically overwhelmingly expensive.
Yeah, but Jim Justice is already run. I don't know how much he spent. Already run really high quality ads for 4 or 5 weeks or something, whatever it was, and moved the needle some.
I agree. I agree. He has done that. I agree. But
the question is, does Justice continue to run?
What do you mean?
Well, I'm just saying that I think there could be some inside baseball. I have no knowledge of any of this. I'm just saying that you're going to have Jim Justice here, and I think from what you hear, Senator Manchin supports Justice. Maybe not. Who knows? You've got Booth Goodwin. You've got Kessler, another really capable candidate. I think it's going to be a whole lot of fun to sit on the sidelines and watch. We'll find out because, let's face it, the Democrat base in West Virginia, there are a lot of great Democrats, but it's still controlled by that far left-wing liberal bias. What we're going to end up with is a really liberal candidate.
You know what I wonder, though? Everybody keeps throwing at me. Everybody keeps suggesting. I say everybody. People I talk to say, well, now I guess Justice will be getting out. And I think, well, why? I've never, ever since he got in, it seems like people have been questioning whether he's really in or whether he's going to get out. I have no insight into that except I don't talk to him very much, but would be A, why would you get in if you're going to get out? B, why would you spend a bunch of money if you're going to get out? And C, if you move the needle after you run ads, why would you get out? I don't see that. George, do you? Maybe you do. Maybe you do.
No, I don't actually. And, of the three candidates, he's the one I don't know personally. So I don't have any particular insight into this at all, other than it would seem pretty bizarre to have gone this far and to run ads and then to pull back. So it just strikes me as odd, that theory.
All right. Listen, thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Thanks for your insights. George Carenbauer, former Democratic Party Chairman, Mike Stuart, former Republican Party Chairman. It's always a good discussion. We have you guys on. Appreciate it and hope you have a very Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Happy New Year to everyone.